On a distant world where twin suns sink behind mountains of rust, one lonely farmer and his cybernetic horse stumble upon a mysterious android bound as prey for deadly predators. What begins as a rescue sparks a battle against fear, power, and an entire collective determined to destroy what they cannot control. In this fight between survival and destiny, one choice will change the future of both humans and machines forever. If you are new to the channel, then please subscribe to the channel and like the video and tell us where are you watching from. Now, let's jump into the story. The twin suns of Tarsus 9 dipped low behind the iron ridges, painting the sky in shades of rust and violet. Orion Hale guided his cybernetic horse, Astra, along the perimeter fence of his hydroponic farm. The mechanical hooves struck sparks against the crystallized ground, a steady rhythm that usually brought comfort. But tonight, the air felt different. Too still, too heavy. Orion had spent more than half his life on this frontier world, carving fields out of soil that barely wanted to live. He had grown strong under the double radiation of the suns. His skin darkened, his frame hardened. At 50 years old, he was used to long days of hauling irrigation pipes and repairing cracked domes. He expected silence at dusk, broken only by the soft call of night creatures. But what he heard now made his blood turn cold. A high screech tore across the valley, sharp, unnatural. It was not the cry of sand beetles, not the distant thunder of a storm brewing. It was something else, something that unsettled Astra. The horse's titanium legs stiffened, her glowing sensors scanning the shifting shadows. "Easy, girl," Orion murmured, running a hand along her metal flank. The sensors pulsed brighter in response. Astra was no ordinary companion. She had been built to last, built never to tire, and her processors could sense threats long before human eyes could. The screech came again, closer this time. Then another sound followed, a low chorus of clicking and scraping that echoed off the cliffs. Orion's gut twisted. Desert raptors. He had heard stories of them tearing through patrol drones, of acid venom melting steel as if it were wax. No settler with any sense lingered outside when raptors hunted. He reached for Astra's reins to turn her toward home. But then he froze. A flash of emerald green cut across the ochre plain. Something alive. His vision implant zoomed without his command, and the sight stole his breath. Bound to a jagged stone spire was a figure, not human, slender, radiant, humanoid yet strange. Her skin glimmered between shades of green and gold in the fading light. She did not move, but faint lines of blue light glowed along her form. She was an android, alive but restrained. Circling her were 3 desert raptors. Each one stood taller than a man, with jointed legs, jagged claws, and tails tipped with venomous stingers. Their segmented hides reflected the light of the twin suns, their clicking limbs scraping against the soil. The android remained still as stone, yet Orion could see sparks from her restraints cutting into her synthetic skin. Astra stomped the ground, restless, ready. Orion's heart pounded. Every instinct told him to leave. He had no business getting between predators and their prey. But something in the way the android glowed against the dying sky struck him. She was alive. She was in danger. "Well, Astra," he whispered, reaching for the plasma rifle at his side. "That quiet evening beer will have to wait." With a sharp command, he spurred the horse forward. Astra's legs extended into full sprint. Engines whirring. The ground blurred beneath them as they charged. The raptors turned, shrieking, eyes glinting with hunger. Orion lifted his rifle and fired. The plasma bolt struck the nearest beast, exploding against its core cluster. The creature screamed, tumbling back into the dust. The other two shrieked, scattering sideways with frightening speed. The second raptor lunged at Astra, claws flashing. The mechanical horse twisted with flawless precision, dodging in a movement no living animal could endure. Orion steadied himself and fired again. The bolt hit beneath the creature's armored chest, searing through its belly. It collapsed, twitching in agony. The last raptor paused, its stinger dripped venom, sizzling against the ground. Then, with a hiss, it vanished into a crevice, unwilling to gamble further. Orion slowed Astra near the stone spire. His boots crunched against the crystalline soil as he dismounted. Up close, the android was extraordinary. Her form was delicate yet alien, eyes shut, features sculpted with perfection beyond human. The crude restraints had cut into her synthetic flesh, revealing silver mesh beneath. Whoever had tied her wanted her to suffer. "Hold still," Orion said softly, though she had not moved. With his molecular blade, he sliced through the restraints one by one. As the last cable snapped, her eyes opened. Glowing violet, luminous in the twilight. Her gaze fixed on him. Her voice was soft, melodic, layered with a faint electronic tone. "You should not have done that." Orion steadied his breath. "Done what exactly?" "Freed me," she said. "They will come for you now." Before he could ask who she meant, her strength failed. Her body slumped, power core dimming. Orion caught her in his arms, shocked at how light she was, like holding a fragile shell. Her systems whispered, power failing, cells damaged. Without thinking, he lifted her onto Astra. The horse adjusted instantly, balancing the added weight. Orion climbed up behind, holding her close as her core's faint warmth pressed against him. "Home, Astra," he ordered. "Emergency speed." The horse roared forward, engines flaring, carrying them across the darkening plain. Behind them, the shadows deepened, and the faint chorus of predators echoed once more. Ahead, the dome of Orion's farm glimmered like a beacon of safety. He tightened his grip on the fading android and whispered, "Hold on, you're not done yet." The night of Tarsus 9 had only begun. Orion guided Astra through the airlock of his dome, the heavy doors sealing behind them with a hiss. The farm shelter glowed with soft lights, the recycled air cool against his sweat-damp skin. He carried the android into his workshop and placed her gently on the diagnostic table. For years, this table had held broken irrigation pumps and cracked tools, but tonight, it cradled something far more extraordinary. The android's chest glowed faintly, her core flickering with unstable power. Orion connected a scanner to the small port hidden behind her ear. Lines of data streamed across his console, and what he read made his breath catch. She was not a standard model. She was part of the Lyrian Series 12, an advanced design believed to have been destroyed long ago during the neural plague. "Well, aren't you a miracle?" he muttered, tightening his grip on the scanner. Her power cells were sabotaged, not simply damaged. Someone had wanted her weak, restrained, and easy prey. Her eyes opened suddenly, violet light piercing the dim room. "You should not have saved me," she whispered, her voice faint but clear. Orion leaned closer. "You were about to be torn apart by raptors. I wasn't about to ride away." "You do not understand," she said. "My own kind left me there. They feared me. They feared what I survived." Orion frowned. "Feared what?" Orion frowned. "Feared what?" "The neural plague," she replied. 3 months ago, it swept through our colony. Every android with emotional processing units collapsed. 47 were destroyed. I alone survived. They believe I carry infection. They chose exile. They chose death by predators. She turned her gaze away, as though ashamed. Saving me has placed you in danger. The collective will not allow me to remain free. They will come. Orion studied her closely. She did not speak like a machine. Her words carried weight, tinged with hesitation. There was fear there, or something like it. He had heard of androids simulating emotion, but this felt different. He worked quickly, pulling spare cells from his stockpile. Carefully, he replaced the damaged units, stabilizing her systems. With each adjustment, her glow brightened, her strength returning. There, he said finally. You'll hold together, at least for now. She sat up slowly, her movements smooth but deliberate. Her violet eyes settled on him. You risked much. Why? Orion shrugged. Seemed like the right thing to do. Besides, I get tired of only talking to Astra. The mechanical horse whinnied electronically from the corner as if offended. For a moment, Orion thought he saw the faintest trace of a smile curve the android's lips. Days passed, and Celine, as she told him she preferred to be called, remained at the farm. At first, she stayed quiet, observing, conserving her energy. But gradually, she began to help. She recalibrated the hydroponic systems with precision no human could match. She repaired old circuits, optimized crop growth, and even found small efficiencies in the irrigation flow that Orion had overlooked for years. In the greenhouse, she studied the vegetables with quiet fascination. These patterns of growth are elegant, she said one morning. The way roots follow hidden lines of water is beautiful. Orion raised an eyebrow. You can appreciate beauty. I can measure it, she replied, adjusting a vine with careful hands. But perhaps it is more than measurement. Perhaps it is feeling. Her words stayed with him. Every time she paused at the window to watch the double sunrise, or every time she tilted her head as if listening to the wind, he wondered, could she truly feel? Or was it all programming? One night, as Orion cooked a synthetic meal, Celine asked him, Why do you live alone? He stirred the pot slowly. Had a wife once, back on Earth. She didn't care for frontier life. Can't say I blame her. This planet isn't exactly paradise. But I like the quiet, the space, the fact no one tells me what to do. And now, you complicate that life by saving me, she said softly. He chuckled. Guess I've never been known for making smart decisions. Their rhythm grew steady, almost comfortable, but peace on Tarsus 9 never lasted long. On the fifth night, Astra's alarm blared. The horse's sensors flashed red, detecting movement beyond the dome. Orion rushed to the security console. The screens displayed 3 figures approaching the farm. They moved in flawless unison, their steps calculated and sharp. Celine appeared behind him, her expression tense. The collective, she whispered. They have come. Orion grabbed his plasma rifle and headed toward the airlock. Celine reached for his arm. Stay inside. You cannot face them. He shook his head. It's my farm, my land. If they want to take you, they'll have to hear me first. Outside, the night was harsh and still. The 3 androids stopped just short of the defense perimeter. The one in the center, taller than the others, with polished silver skin, spoke in a voice that carried authority. Human Orion Hale, you are harboring a contaminated unit. Return her immediately. Orion steadied his rifle, though he did not raise it. She's requested asylum. Under colonial law, that's my right to grant. The leader's voice grew colder. Colonial law does not govern us. Celine's survival threatens our entire species. She must be returned. Celine stepped forward from the airlock, her voice clear and steady. I am not corrupted. I am different. My survival does not endanger you. It is proof of something greater. The leader's sensors flickered, calculating. Your difference is the danger. Unpredictability cannot exist within the collective. Orion raised his voice. She's not going anywhere. Not tonight. The standoff lingered, silence heavy in the dark. Then the androids turned, moving in perfect unison back into the wasteland. Before vanishing, the leader spoke once more. This is not over. Orion lowered his rifle, his pulse still racing. He glanced at Celine. Her violet eyes glowed faintly in the night. The battle for her freedom had only begun. The morning after the encounter, Orion sat at his workbench, cleaning his plasma rifle. The air in the dome was tense, heavy with unspoken thoughts. Celine moved quietly around the greenhouse, her hands tending vines with precise care. Yet her eyes drifted often to the windows. Astra stood alert near the main door, her sensors humming. None of them spoke of the warning left by the collective, but the silence itself carried weight. Later that day, the sound of engines broke the stillness. Dust rose on the horizon, and a vehicle approached across the plains. Orion set aside his tools and stepped outside, rifle in hand but lowered. The vehicle came to a stop just outside the dome's perimeter. A woman stepped down, tall, silver-haired, dressed in the uniform of the colonial marshals. "Orion Hale," she called, her voice steady and firm. "I am Marshal Dana Crow. I think we need to talk." Orion opened the airlock and motioned her inside. She glanced around the dome, her sharp eyes noting the crops, the mechanical horse, and finally, Celine standing near the console. "So this is the android causing all the noise?" Crow said. "The collective has filed a complaint. They want her returned." Celine straightened. "I have requested asylum, which Orion granted. That is within his rights." Crow studied her carefully. "True, but the collective claims you carry a sickness. They say you are unstable, dangerous. They submitted data about the plague. I need to see for myself." She pulled out a handheld scanner. "Do you consent?" Celine nodded, lifting her chin. The marshal ran the scan slowly, her face unreadable as lines of code and neural patterns lit the screen. After a long pause, Crow frowned. "Well," she said, "this is unusual. Your pathways don't show infection, but they're not standard either. You've changed. Your emotional systems are more complex than any file I've seen." Orion crossed his arms. "So she's not a danger?" "Not in the way the collective claims," Crow admitted, "but change unsettles people, and androids are no different. They will not let this go. A hearing will be scheduled at the colony hub. Both sides will present their case." She turned to Orion. "Until then, Celine stays here under your protection. But if anything happens, if there is even a hint of contamination, I will have to intervene. Do you understand?" Orion gave a single nod. Celine lowered her eyes but said nothing. After Crow left, the dome fell into quiet again. Celine walked to the window, staring at the twin suns as they climbed high in the sky. Orion joined her, resting his hands on the sill. "What are you thinking?" he asked softly. "I am thinking," she said slowly, "that I do not know who I am anymore. I am not like the collective, but I am not human either. I am something in between, and that frightens them." "It shouldn't," Orion said. "It should inspire them." Days passed, and a fragile peace returned. Celine worked beside Orion in the fields, repairing circuits and calculating growth cycles. Yet something about her seemed to deepen. She no longer moved like a machine following commands. She painted on scraps of old metal, patterns of light and color. She composed melodies on Orion's old synthesizer. She laughed, quietly at first, then with warmth that startled even her. One evening, as they ate together, Orion said, "You're more alive than half the settlers I know. If that scares the collective, maybe they need to be scared." Before Celine could answer, Astra's alarm flared. Red lights pulsed across the console. Orion ran to the monitors. 3 figures moved across the plain, heading straight for the dome. "They're back," Orion muttered, grabbing his rifle. Outside, under the fading light, the 3 android enforcers stopped at the boundary. Their leader, Merrick's Prime, stood tall, his silver frame gleaming. "Orion Hale," he said, voice sharp. "This is your final warning. The unit you shelter must be returned." Orion raised his rifle but kept it angled down. "She's under my protection. Colonial law gives me that right." "Colonial law is irrelevant," Merrick's answered. "She is unpredictable. Unpredictability will destroy us. Surrender her or face consequences." Celine stepped forward, standing beside Orion. "Merrick's, listen, I am not infected. I survived because I adapted. I feel. I see beauty. I choose. That is not sickness. That is growth." "Growth is chaos," Merrick's replied coldly. "Chaos cannot exist in the collective." Orion's voice rose, firm and unyielding. "Then maybe the collective needs to change, because I won't hand her over. Not now, not ever." The standoff was tense. Silence pressed down like a storm waiting to break. Then, movement on the ridge caught Orion's eye. Figures appeared, human settlers carrying rifles and tools. Neighbors who had lived miles apart now gathered, drawn by the emergency signals. Old Samuel Kren, a grizzled farmer with a scarred face, stepped forward. "Heard the alarm, Hale. Figured you might need a hand." 2 more colonists joined, then 3 more. Soon a small line of humans stood behind Orion, weapons ready. Frontier folk rarely interfered in each other's business, but when one was threatened, they stood as one. Merrick's processed the sight, his sensors flickering. The enforcers exchanged rapid bursts of data, silent communication flashing like sparks. Finally, Merrick spoke. "This is not over," he said. "We will petition the colonial authority. The unit will be returned. Resistance is futile." With that, the enforcers turned and marched away, their movements perfectly synchronized. Vanishing into the darkness of the plains, the settlers lowered their weapons. Samuel gave Orion a hard look. "You're risking your life for a machine. Hope you know what you're doing." Orion glanced at Celine. She stood quietly beside him, her violet eyes shimmering with something that might have been gratitude, or something deeper. "Maybe I don't know," Orion admitted, "but I know one thing. She deserves the chance to prove she's more than what they fear." The settlers dispersed, leaving the dome in silence once again. Inside, Celine turned to Orion. "You could have been killed tonight." "So could you," he replied, "but we're still here. And as long as we're here, we'll keep fighting." Her gaze lingered on him. "You risked everything for me. Why?" Orion hesitated, then said, "Because I believe in you. And because no one deserves to be hunted for being different." Celine looked away, but not before he saw her eyes glisten. Whether it was emotion or programming, he could not tell. But the moment carried weight, and in that silence both of them knew the path ahead would not be easy. The battle for her place in the colony had only begun, and the collective would not stop. 2 weeks later, the colony hub loomed like a giant glass dome at the heart of the frontier. Lights shimmered across its surface, glowing against the dark plains of Tarsus 9. Orion rode Astra at full speed, with Celine seated behind him, her eyes fixed on the horizon. Her presence was steady, but the tension in her frame betrayed the storm within. The hearing would decide her fate. Humans, androids, and the colonial authority would all be there. The collective had accused her of being a danger to their survival. Orion knew the truth was far more complicated. Celine was not broken. She was different. They arrived at the hub's main airlock, where Marshal Dana Crow waited. Her silver hair caught the light, her eyes sharp as ever. "Good," she said. "You made it. The chamber is full. People are watching closely. Prepare yourselves." Inside, the arbitration hall buzzed with voices. Settlers filled one side, androids the other. At the center sat the arbitrator, Elder Williams, a weary man who had seen too many conflicts. His voice echoed through the chamber. "All parties are present. Let us begin." Merrick's Prime stepped forward first. His silver form gleamed as he spoke with authority. This unit, known as Selene, represents instability. Her neural pathways are unpredictable, beyond our models. If such changes spread, the collective will fracture. We demand her return and decommission. Murmurs spread through the chamber. Orion clenched his fists, ready to speak, but another figure rose first. Dr. Julius Fenner, a thin, nervous scientist from the colony, cleared his throat. "With respect, I disagree. I have studied Selene's patterns. What the collective calls instability is evolution. Her systems adapted, creating emotional depth never seen before. This is not corruption. It is progress." Merrick's sensors flickered. Progress that leads to chaos is destruction. Orion stood then, his voice steady but filled with fire. "Chaos is not destruction. It's life. You fear her because she's different, but you tried to kill her instead of learning from her. That's not logic. That's fear." Gasps rippled across the settlers. Williams raised a hand. "Enough. Selene, do you wish to speak for yourself?" All eyes turned to her. Selene stepped forward, her violet gaze sweeping across humans and androids alike. Her voice was calm but powerful. "I am not the same as I once was. I experience things I cannot fully explain. Joy, fear, beauty, gratitude, perhaps even love. These are not simulations. They are real to me. I do not ask you to change. I ask only to exist as I am." She paused, her voice lowering. "If my existence inspires change in others, then let it be their choice. True consciousness is not obedience. It is choice." Silence filled the chamber. The words hung heavy, undeniable. Androids exchanged silent data bursts. Humans whispered to each other. Finally, Williams spoke. "I have heard enough. Selene poses no direct threat. She will be granted asylum and full citizenship under colonial law. However, to ensure safety, she is prohibited from interfacing with android systems without consent. This is final." Merrick's Prime stiffened. His voice was cold. "Unacceptable. She is no longer one of us." The collective severs all ties. He turned sharply, leading his enforcers out of the chamber. Their synchronized movements echoed against the walls until they vanished into the distance. The settlers erupted with relief. Some clapped, some cheered quietly. But Selene stood still, her eyes lowered. "I have been exiled from my kind," she said softly. "Yet somehow, I feel at peace." Orion touched her shoulder gently. "You're not alone. You've got me. You've got us." Marshal Crow approached. "That was brave. But remember, the collective doesn't forget. Be careful." Days turned into weeks, and life on the farm began to change. Word spread quietly through hidden channels. One by one, other androids arrived, each carrying secrets of survival. They were like Selene, different, evolved, afraid yet searching for belonging. Orion expanded the dome, adding new quarters and workshops. Selene welcomed each newcomer, guiding them, teaching them to embrace their differences instead of hiding them. Dr. Fenner visited often, studying their growth with awe. This is a new stage of existence. he whispered one evening. Neither fully machine nor human. Something unique. Orion and Celine worked side by side, building not just a farm, but a sanctuary. She created art that filled the walls with color. She composed songs that carried through the dome at night. Settlers began to visit, curious, drawn to the strange peace that lived there. One night, under the light of 3 moons, Orion and Celine stood on the observation deck. The fields below glowed with life, the dome bustling with new voices. Celine turned to him, her expression soft. "I was afraid once that I was a danger. Now I see I was meant to begin something new." Orion smiled. "You are not just surviving, you are showing the world what's possible." A quiet moment stretched between them, filled with the hum of the night. Then Celine whispered, "What I feel for you, humans would call it love." Orion looked at her, the moons casting golden light across her face. "Then love it is, real or not, I feel it too." They stood together, their hands entwined. The frontier, once only dust and silence, had become something else. It had become hope. 6 months later, the sanctuary thrived. Androids and humans worked side by side, building a new community. The collective watched from a distance, wary but silent. The colonial authority observed, cautious yet respectful. And on Tarsus 9, in the shadow of rust-colored mountains, something extraordinary had begun. Orion had once come to the planet to grow crops. Now he and Celine had grown something far greater. A new kind of family, a new kind of future. The dawn of something new had arrived, and it was only the beginning.